Make do and mend. A Friday dusk reflection from the field's edge. There's been a lot in the news lately about British Steel. Closures, concerns, government declarations, a national intake of breath. Another reminder that nothing once deemed strong is immune to corrosion, not if left too long in the hands of those who value cost over craft. But that news didn't make me angry. Not exactly. It made me remember. I was a small child in the 1970s when Britain was often on strike. Binmen, firemen, power cuts, the occasional candlelit evening, not for mood, but because the grid had faltered again. Society was tense, but it was alive. People argued, yes, but they also talked. Neighbours knew each other. The milkman came at dawn. And that milkman? He drove an electric float, long before Teslas and charging apps. There he was, humming quietly down the road, delivering glass pint bottles and taking away the empties. A closed-loop system, practical, sensible, sustainable before the word became marketing. We didn't call it recycling, we just did it. Once a week the pop van would arrive, a big treat. Us kids would dash outside, bottles from the previous week in hand, cleaned, ready. We'd hand them over and get a few pennies in return. Enough to pick one bottle each, me and my two sisters. One bottle per child. That was our fizzy rations for the week. Fast food was a rarity. Fish and chips on a Friday if we were lucky, wrapped in newspaper, warm and vinegar scented. When the first KFC came to town, we might have had it twice a year. The best part? The lemon-scented hand wipe. It felt like treasure. We didn't have plastic bags. We had canvas ones or paper. We didn't wear things once and throw them away. Clothes were mended, socks were darned, nappies were washed, dried and reused. Leftovers became tomorrow's pie, stew or sandwich. And there were moments you don't forget. Our local recreation ground, usually a place of kickabouts and summer picnics, was suddenly off limits. Piled high with uncollected rubbish, towering mounds of it, reeking and restless. The binmen were on strike. And it turns out, when people don't think about where waste goes, it finds its own stage. Birmingham today is seeing echoes of it again. The fire brigade walked out too. So the army stepped in. Green goddesses, those great wheezing military fire engines, trundled through the streets like something from a war film. I remember watching them pass with a kind of awe. And the power cuts? Always at the worst possible moment. My mum, bless her, had a soft spot for David Soul from the original Starsky and Hutch. One Saturday night, he was due to appear on a chat show. We were all told to hush. The TV glowed, the music played, the intro rolled in. And then, darkness. I'll never forget the sound of her sigh. Then, in true fashion, she made a joke, lit some candles, and fetched the cards. The show was gone, but the evening remained. There's a strange narrative today that places all blame at the feet of the so-called boomers. That generation who, they say, used up the Earth's resources and left nothing behind. But that's not quite true, is it? The boomers were the children of the war generation, the make-do and mend generation, raised on rationing, ingenuity and collective effort. And many boomers carried those habits with them. They cooked, they reused, they bought what they could afford and made it last. I'm Gen X. I remember all of it. And I look around now at a world where things are faster, shinier, disposable. Where the language of convenience has replaced the logic of care. Where fingers are pointed at the past while today's waste piles high behind the packaging of the latest upgrade. This isn't about guilt. It's about perspective. Because if we forget how things were done, not in some rose-tinted fantasy, but in real households with real efforts, We risk believing the illusion that we've always lived like this. And we haven't. We once knew how to waste less, how to share more, how to fix and repurpose and be satisfied with enough. And maybe the answer to tomorrow isn't another corporate pledge or government scheme. Maybe it's in the sound of the milk float, in the clink of glass bottles on a doorstep, in the quiet pride of turning last night's dinner into today's lunch. Maybe, just maybe, it's already in us. We've just forgotten how to listen.